The definitive documentation and decisions of the board are noted in our meeting minutes. Any use of electronic devices such as a computer or cell phone during the meeting is related to the business of the meeting. The core values that guide the work of the school district are respect, compassion, honesty, responsibility, and relationships. I'd like to acknowledge that today's board meeting is being held within the traditional territory of the Deneza and Treaty 8. And I am on the traditional territory of Souk and the Pache de Net here at my cabin. So that's where I'm coming to you from. Could I please get a mover and a seconder for the agenda? Moved by David, seconded by Bill. Are there any additions to the agenda? Calling the question then. All in favor?
In favor.
In favor here too. All right. I don't believe we have any presentations or delegations tonight. We'll start with trustee engagement and celebrations, and we'll start with trustee Campbell, please.
I really don't have anything to report because I've been under the weather, as you all know, so I have not done anything the last couple of weeks.
No problem. Trustee Gillis.
Well, on Monday we had our committee of the whole meeting, and prior to that, I went down to Taylor School, right, to watch the mathology in work, and I continue to work in Hudson's Hope with the kids at my speech club. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chairman Lehman.
I did do the mathology at Duncan Cran. That was an interesting class to be at. I attended a BCPC information session on Zoom. I'll report out on that. Did a data walk on Friday with staff, and then just an advance in the board. That was excellent. It was very good. I think could almost have used more time. Attended a labor management meeting, Clearview PAC meeting. Did some strategic planning get together because we've got the reports of what we've heard and then just the next steps, and did a Zoom on the schematic overlook, I guess, for the 101 school, which is exciting as well.
Right. Trustee Scott Moncrief.
I've been in contact with almost all of my administrators recently. Everything's going all right. A couple of small glitches that they're working through. Did the SUPAC meeting a couple of weeks ago. It was quite enjoyable. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. And Trustee Snow.
Alrighty, so the mathology there, the data walk, which was when I attended a couple of hours of it. Did 2 nights of the basketball. Really enjoyed it. Visited my schools. Had a meeting with Mr. Mayor and Mr. Vaquero from the high school about some of the trades programs, and went out to Rumble on a tour, one of the businesses where they send students, and observed some of the students there doing some activities, and was very interesting. I went to the Central Place, and yeah, it's been busy.
You have been busy. As noted earlier, Trustee Whitten sends his regrets. For myself, I judged science fair at Alwyn Holland and Finch, and certainly enjoyed some of the projects. Loved the grade 4's honesty about, I didn't quite get time to finish that up, and if I'd done this again, I would have changed my pictures and things like that. They were very upfront with what they would do differently. Attended an equity scan meeting and a Northeast Roundtable meeting, as well as the ministry's substance abuse presentation. Been involved with strat planning, the labor management. Bill, you were also with me at the North Star meeting, which stands for Northern Strategy for Training and Recruitment and Retention. And that is a joint ad hoc committee of both the Northern Interior branch and the Northwest branch of the BCSTA. And I did the 101 school planning today and a very exciting SUPAC DPAC meeting. So that's what I've been up to. Moving forward, we're going to take a look at item number 5 on our agenda, which is the minutes of the regular board meeting of February the 20th, 2024, which is page 6 to 13 in your agenda package. We'll give you a minute to look at those.
I think we're good.
Thank you. It's hard to see. Could
Yeah.
I please get a mover and a seconder for those minutes? Moved by Nicole, seconded by Madeline. Are there any errors or omissions? All right. Calling the question then, all in favor?
In favor.
In favor? It's carried. Business arising from the minutes. We have one action item related to retirees' names. And I think that's probably ongoing. Or have you had a chance to look into it, Angela?
You have a plan for, as it comes up or on a regular basis, for that information to be communicated to trustees, still protect the HR information in terms of public meetings.
Okay, thank you. So there is a plan going forward. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the other action item was the agenda items, not the agenda, the policies being put out for review so we could look at them at our regular April board meeting, and I know that those were done. Is there any other business that I'm missing? Okay. Moving on then to item number 6 on our agenda, approval of the excerpts of the regular board meeting of January the 22nd, which is page 14 in your package.
I'll move that.
Thank you. It's a pretty quick one. Moved by Nicole, seconded by David. Any errors or omissions? No. Okay, calling the question then, all in favor?
In favor?
In favor? It's carried. Moving on to item number 7. Announcements and reminders. And you can see, we've clarified where the badminton tournament is taking place. Thursday, it's at Maury and North Peace, and then Friday, just North Peace. Stephen, can you add the information or speak to the information related to the speaker that Deepak's bringing in?
Yeah, so it's the April, the dates there, 23rd to 25th, I believe, and the name of the presenter is Dynamic Influence. It was the initiative of the DPAC, but in alignment with what the district and board are trying to do around social media education and student safety online. And so myself and the DPAC are coming up with a schedule for those 3 days to basically hit almost every school. And DPAC's providing a fair bit of the funding. A couple of the schools are chipping in, districts providing busing, and so it's going to be quite a deal going on. And of course, we'll keep you apprised and let trustees know of the actual schedule so they can pop into one of the presentations. And a parent meeting.
There's a parent, I was gonna say there's in the evening too, and I know even like Clearview will bus kids in.
Is it April?
It was the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, April, one moment.
There's not announcements from my.
No.
Yeah, because the schedule's not actually been set yet. I'm giving you the heads up. It's the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And I'm working with DPAC to come up with a schedule.
I just wanted people to have the heads up in our announcements so that you might be able to, if you wanted to fit in a session, know in advance to hold dates in your calendar.
What's it called again?
Dynamic Influence. And again, the DPAC's kind of leading this and we're supporting them, and which is terrific.
Social media, they even,
Are they-
like even talking about actual addiction, whatever, like it's.
You know, they're going to
Part of
have.
that conversation.
Clearview is coming here. They're not actually going.
I
out,
believe
they're busing
I
kids.
believe we're planning a trip to Hudson's Hole.
Definitely one who said that.
Deepak's quite excited about it and is working very hard on it. So one of the members from DPAC, it came up at the DPAC meeting, is soliciting donations from local companies and things to help cover the cost of the event. And they've been very proactive in reaching out about it. So good support for us from there. There's no other additions. We'll move on to item number 8 on our agenda, senior staff reports.
Thank you, Helen, and Leo, you'll zoom in on the screen here. Thank you. And so just to let the public know, in terms of some of the trustees alluded to the data walk we did the other day, and this is more a representation of the kinds of data as opposed to being able to read these really clearly. But essentially what you're looking at is the grad rate. The top one is to do with standard students, Indigenous, diverse, and then standard, including online. The second graph here includes female, male, and then ELL, because I know trustees at one point had a question in terms of how the ELL students were doing. Generally speaking, the grad rates have been consistently improving, and the highest rates we've seen so far, especially with our Indigenous students. However, with the board, we also took a look at some of our FSA data, which it appears that there's a struggle between intermediate and middle school around numeracy especially. We see the same trend around the province, but the whole concept of transition was discussed. And some grade 4 actually shows that we're quite strong in the primary overall in terms of our literacy and numeracy. Trustees also got a chance to look at some of our social and emotional learning data around the EDI, MDI, and YDI, which gives some very reliable information and insights into terms of mental health and sort of habits of our students. As Helen alluded to, also, part of this is taking a look at kind of the alignment with the allocation of resources, particularly when it comes to things like mathology, which has been rolling out across the district, and it does take time for that to take hold, but we're excited about the process. Under Human and Social Development, I asked for some submissions around Black History Month, and I got quite a few here. This was a grade 3 Duncan Cran class, and you can kind of make it bigger yourself to see some of the comments and the learning that the kids were making. Attended a really nice assembly at Robert Ogilvie School, and as well as at Dr. Kearney, where some of the students performed. They sang, they had a fashion show, and the audience was absolutely ecstatic and supportive at the assembly. So it was really good to see. Around careers and skill development, you likely would have seen the media coverage of the Skills Canada regional event where North SD 60 students did very well, including a couple of students who won the bridge building competition this time around, which was very exciting. You can read through that newsletter. Again, a success story of our students is a former band student, Christopher Young. I remember him when I taught him, and he is now moved in to be the new executive director of the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra. So it's quite something when a former student does that. We've also seen many of former band students come back and start to work for us as band teachers again, which is kind of exciting. Under operations and HR, the local union shared this information with me, and some of them have been to it in the past and really enjoyed it. And that's the Teachers Institute on Canadian Parliamentary Democracy. And so there's some further information there for our teachers to apply. Just an update for the board and the public in terms of we started to roll out some very specific digital security awareness and training modules for our staff. We've started in facilities and then to the board office. We'll be rolling it out across the district. And it's several short and medium-term videos and information around we are all gatekeepers of data and tips and tricks around how to learn how to protect your data. So we're pretty excited about that too. Truth and Reconciliation, that event is actually sold out, but I wanted to highlight with the invite from Trustee Whitten in terms from the DOIG around reawakening our language, taking place at Northern Lakes College on Thursday and Friday. I'll be attending on one of the days and looking forward to that. And the uptake and the interest has been very high around the community. Finally, some Take 3, really encourage trustees to check out the newsletter this month from North Peace. There's some fantastic information. And, you know, I haven't been to a pep rally in a long time. You think sometimes that the kids get bored or aren't interested, but look at the participation here of the kids and the staff from an assembly at North Peace, and it's just great to see some of that school spirit at the older kids level. So I want to thank Christopher Goodoff for putting that together. As mentioned, ACO Central did very well at skills competition, taking the gold and silver in the Spaghetti Bridge, as well as I also attended the musical Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it was really neat to see the kids singing, get to interact in the cultural center, have those microphones attached to their faces, and really having the whole pro experience, if you will. And finally, here a submission around Just Dance Education Beyond the Body, which was an instructor and presentation that took place at Central as well. So, and finally, a follow-up to the presentation that you had from the admin team at Charlie Lake. Here's a picture of the Minecraft app or software they were using to do all the measurements of the school with that student club in the morning that was explained to you the last time. So that is my report. And Helen, I also have as part of my report item number 2 under education, which is to break out a motion on approval of an out-of-district field trip. And that is my report.
Thank you. So we'll go through Stephen's report item by item, and it starts with his HR report. That's part of the package. Any questions related to the HR report? Right, moving on to the electronic report.
Trying to see where it is.
Sorry.
Is that the blue one, or is that the security one you're talking about?
This one here.
I just noticed something in one of our attachments here.
Okay.
Right, and I'm thinking this gets printed, like is available to people.
What's that?
Our deferred salary leave plan thing here.
Yeah, it has to as per policy. That's the one thing about that HR piece that comes.
Yes, that there is talk about cybersecurity and stuff.
Yeah.
And on here is the perfect person's SIN number.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Their SIN number is on here.
Am I looking at the wrong one?
I don't know. I might be wrong.
Sorry, Bill, I
Bill.
did not, that was not part of my report right now
Okay.
for the public.
Is that interesting?
You're looking at in camera, the
Oh, I
only,
didn't know.
Looking at in camera, Bill.
Okay.
the only motion I've brought forward is for an out of district field trip.
Yeah, no, I knew that. I just seen that there was an
Yeah.
attachment.
Yeah.
Leah's like, oh.
So no, there is no SIN number or
Okay.
personal information on the public meeting.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, but while we're on that cybersecurity awareness, is that something that it would be, because trustees are part of all of the information sharing and have access, is it something that we should be considering doing too?
You will get that link very shortly and you can complete them all with the same ones as us.
Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions on my online report? You had me worried there for a second, Bill.
Sorry.
All right.
I'm awake now. Yes, and then for the breakout motion when you're ready.
The young girl that's singing for Dr. Kearney in the video clip that you attached has an incredibly powerful voice. So if you want to, that's a good one to listen to. She's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and my computer sound system won't do it justice. I do encourage you to listen to it and turn it up, and it's beautiful. And by the way, the piano, the accompanist is Anita Deng's daughter there, and she was fantastic as well on the piano.
Oh, okay. All right. So could I please have someone move that the Board of Education accept the out-of-district field trips as presented by Stephen?
That was Bill and Dave.
Okay, I just lost sight of the Zoom room. So Bill and Dave did that. Now, if we have an opportunity, if there's any questions related to that, and I know I do have one, Stephen. When you look at the motion that for the ultimate frisbee, they're talking about perhaps camping. And that's not typically what we see in terms of accommodation. And should that group decide to camp, is there any special requirements they have in their permission slip or in coming back to you?
There wouldn't be any special requirements around the permission slips, no.
Okay,
Be happy to submit what it is, the option they land on with further details if the board is willing to approve in principle the trip as submitted.
I just wondered if camping was part of the high risk field trip
Right.
policy. That's where I was just wondering. Because I don't recall seeing a request for camping before, unless it was a very different kind of trip.
Yeah, so the camping that's being contemplated would not really be part of the high risk field trip
Okay.
form. Happy to submit when they've decided what their accommodations are and bring that back to you as an information piece.
Okay. So with that proviso, calling the question on the motion related to out of district field trips. All in favor?
In favor.
In favor? And the room is in favor, so that is carried.
Thank you.
Moving on then to the Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thank you. We will start with the finance update to, sorry, it's actually to February 29th, 2024.
Okay.
And then I will be making a recommendation and asking for a motion for auditor appointment for the next 3 years. Human resource support staff summary for the period February 16th to March 6th. And an update on the district long service and retirement dinner.
All right. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that report, please? Moved by Madeline, seconded by David. We will pull out a separate motion related to the auditor. Let's go through the rest of Angela's report right now and give trustees an opportunity to ask questions. So starting with the finance update.
Any questions?
Yeah, there's red on the report. No.
The color.
So is that usual that the February count is not included yet? Is that an unusual delay? That's the common?
It's just gets reported at the end of February, so there's no chance of updated funding until we might see it by the end of March. Yes.
Okay.
And then we'll, for the current year. There's always a bit of timing.
All right.
And then the other oddness is that for payroll, it looks like it's quite low, but that's because the payroll cycle runs, the payment date was March 2nd, so it doesn't get included. It's all of February, but basically doesn't get included until, timing is my friend, so.
So that's all of it, because I was thinking too, I looked at the TOCs and I thought, okay, but yeah, if it's that March 2nd.
Yeah, so always the timing of.
All right.
It's your friend and your enemy.
Yes, well, that's fair. That's a fair comment.
Okay. Any questions related to the human resources support staff summary? All right. District long service and retirement dinner. Angela, have you got a little more detail on that for us?
Yeah, just a little bit of an update. There will be more to come, but it's June 12th at the Northern Grand. And then we will be honoring the long service and retirees on that day. So it should be quite an event. And then we'll be working with the board on the same as we have in the past on gifts and other things as we move closer to the event.
Thank you.
For recognition.
All right, let's go back to the auditor appointment. Angela, could you review the recommendation that you would like us to make, please?
Yeah, so we sent out an request for RFPs, request for proposals, and we received 3. We did an evaluation, both myself and an independent person did a review of the RFPs we received, and we landed on a recommendation of KPMG. And
Okay.
that would be for a 3-year term with what we discussed.
Okay. So could I please have somebody make the motion that the Board of Education for School District number 60, Peace River North, appoint KPMG as the board's auditor through the next 3 years?
So it'd be for 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, moved by Bill, seconded by,
Ida, do you want this one?
We're all second it.
seconded by Ida. Thank you for sharing the pleasure. All right, calling the question then. All in favor?
In favor.
In favor? Looks like it's carried, so KPMG is our auditor,
Thank you.
right? Moving on to the reports of the regular committee of the whole meeting, March the 4th, which is page 17 to 18 in your agenda package. We'll give you a chance to look at it.
Okay, I'll move.
Okay. Could I please get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Nicole, seconded by Madeline. Are there any errors or omissions? Right?
Just wondering, me and Bill both left this meeting at some point. Just wondering if the minute should reflect that? Does it matter?
It does say trustee Snow left at 2:08.
Operations.
So we missed including that.
That I,
You- Okay, what?
I left at 3,
Okay.
if that needs, yeah.
Well, if we've done it for one trustee, we best do it for everybody.
There was any bad decisions made after that.
That's not on me. All right.
Yeah. Okay. I think Thomas left before the end too. So we'll have to confirm that time. Because I think it ended up just being Madeline and I were left. So, all right. With those changes, are we in favor of the minutes? Calling the
In
question.
favor.
In favor?
In favor.
Favor?
Okay, those minutes with those changes are carried. Business arising, please. The agenda for AGM is available on the portal. You can look at what's happening each day. Leah needs to know if you're attending the pre-conference, and things like that, and what your flight options are. So if you haven't confirmed things with her, if you could please do so, it would be appreciated. And yes, Leah, I know I'm still on the owing you information. So. Okay. Right. I don't think I have anything else there. Give me a minute to go back and flip. All right. Moving forward, other reports. BCSTA, Trustee Campbell. You're muted.
I did send out the report for provincial council to all the trustees in a written form.
Thank you. Any questions related to what Ida sent out? Okay. All right. I attached a partner liaison report for you. And what I did was I gave you the topics of the day, some notes from each of the topics, and then I pulled out some of the slides that were, to me, the most important pieces of information. And when you look at the work that we did as a board on Friday in looking at data and looking at our framework for enhancing student learning, and it's referenced later in correspondence with the ministry feedback on the framework, you can, and you look at those slides, you can see that our board is definitely headed in the right direction in terms of the expectations the ministry has for the board's meaningful involvement in the framework. They will be coming out with guidelines for board involvement that they promised as part of their 6-year cycle. The section on delivering on the BC Tripartite Education and Declaration Action Plan is information that's been brought forward previously. What we're waiting for there is the policy expectations that will be coming out of Bill 40, because I believe that we will be expected to have policy in place for next year around those. But we don't have those directions as of yet. The newest piece of information for me was the artificial intelligence presentation. I will be totally honest with you that much of what was talked about there was beyond my experience at this point. It will be an area that you will be expected to, we will be expected to do some work on as they're starting to work through some things, and even the concept of the cybersecurity that Stephen's just talked about will fit in with some of the AI stuff. I think the most interesting part for me as a bit of a dinosaur was the chart that showed how long applications took to reach 100 million users. I didn't even know what some of the ones were that it took 5 days before they'd reached 100 million users. So an area I'm definitely behind in. And then the last section, board governance through challenging times, lessons learned and preparing for the future. Follow up to the natural disaster events in the province. And I believe that it is one of the sessions that we will see offered at AGM. So are there any questions to what I sent you on that?
Helen, I have a comment.
Yep.
I've invited Lori Petrucci to attend the board meeting on April the 22nd to give trustees an update on some of the research we've been doing around current use and recommended use and those kinds of things around artificial intelligence.
Thank you.
And by that time, we're hoping that the provincial government has provided some of the guidelines that they talked about, but regardless, we'll be able to give you a sense of some of the meetings and conversations and information that we're collecting on this topic at that time.
Thank you, because I know it's,
April 22nd.
thank you.
I think it's a real problem. Well,
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Stephen.
So I'm just gonna, I was just curious about, because when we talk about the framework and all that, do you feel overall, how many districts do, like, we get the presentation from the schools, from the admin?
Yeah.
Which I think is very useful. I think it goes both ways for accountability and for us as well. Are a lot of other districts doing that?
Anecdotally, I would say no. the having both sides as far as the presentation you receive, but also the data that you have on the SharePoint is that fulsome process around the framework, from what my colleagues tell me, is not necessarily happening around the province. In fact, in a couple of districts we heard about, they haven't done it at all.
For myself, I sure appreciate it.
Yeah, and now most districts provide information around school improvement plans or some things at the school level. But we've maintained this link to the framework that many districts dropped as the whole notion of the framework became confusing after a while, if that makes any sense. But the schools have appreciated it, as have the trustees, in terms of that direct connection to schools, which bigger districts can't really permit time-wise and things.
I think from participating last year in Maple Ridge's framework review, they have school plans that come to the board and the board looks at them all as a guideline for the overall district framework. So I know they were, but I have to say Maple Ridge's processes and what they had in place far exceeded what other districts had when I was part of that review process. So,
Well, and having the actual school teams come here, I think is
Yep.
nice, that we're able to afford as a smaller district, which very few districts are doing.
all right. Moving on to the rural and remote network terms of reference. Those are part of your package. This will be the work that the committee that I'm on or the network that I'm chairing takes on over the next 3 years. We had a meeting today and the order, we've been looking at the order of priority for addressing the elements of the terms of reference. And the first thing that will be addressed is building an understanding and responding to recruitment, retention, and training issues. That will be our first area that we're looking at. Then we're looking at investigating and building an understanding of the issues and what the current education outcomes and needs are for students. And the third priority was to build an understanding of funding challenges, costs, and impacts that relate to many of our things. So that's the order of priority. And that's the work that the rural and remote network is going to take on. Okay. Any questions about that? Understanding of the importance of terms of reference is building for me. All right, BCPC Vice Chair Lehman.
So I attended, it was called a training session, or no, actually information session. A lot of it was kind of repetitive. I think it is public knowledge, obviously. Alan Shell, he used to be the chair for BCPC. He resigned as BCPC rep and ultimately as chair just because conflict of interest. So that it was actually quite a hot topic on this. Again, that seems to be still a lot of misunderstanding who is in conflict, who isn't. And maybe just a reminder that can change throughout the year too. If you were not in conflict in November, when we declared conflict, doesn't mean you're not in conflict for the rest of the year. If things change and you have to declare conflict of interest, that's what you should be doing. Because that was obviously the issue with Alan. There's going to be a by-election because I think it's Okanagan Thompson that now is short. So there's going to be a by-election for that. They obviously picked up bargaining. And for those that are not in conflict, I didn't realize, but I guess we'll be asked to provide input into creating bargaining objectives through surveys. So that's going to be coming at one point or another this year. And just they talked about the roles and responsibilities of the reps. was very informative, but the biggest discussion was on conflict of interest.
Oh, yes. All right. Thank you very much. Board Pro D committee, I don't have anything to bring back. Our Pro D basically at this point was our framework work last week. And we have AGM coming up as well. Right? Correspondence, I asked the letter from the Chamber of Commerce with the new board of directors be attached as information in your package. We are signed up as a member for 2024. So the certificate showing that was updated in the trophy cabinet in the boardroom to show that we're a member for 2024. And this is where we get to celebrate Nicole's cousin who's on that board, Kyle. So, yeah.
Speaking, which one?
All right. The next correspondence that was part of your package is the letter that Stephen got that was information back from the review of all 60 frameworks that was done by a team of people to pull together some consistent expectations. As there is some information that is very specific to our district, but there's also in this some general comments that they're making province-wide, and some of the ones in here that relate to alignment through the Equity in Action Plan. Well, ours isn't done yet. We are working on having it done. So we obviously had some things in it, what we put in that point to the fact that it will be aligned. Any questions or comments related to the ministry's feedback on our framework?
But this, to understand the process, so they look through all of those.
Yeah, they have a committee that looks through them all, and then they kind of connect with districts individually. As Helen alluded to, a lot of these were sort of patterns. And to be quite frank, Helen will also tell you that the whole process, they're getting to a place where everyone understands what the process is to review these frameworks across the province with consistent criteria and that kind of thing. So that's fine. It'll probably take a couple of years for them to get into their rhythm of doing this and providing, I think, we hope, a bit more specific information for our district. Keeping in mind that they only really get a very small snapshot of our district. And so it's always hard in 10 pages or whatever the requirement is to really fully go into detail. So they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, because it's, yeah, there's this, hey, you got the 10 pages or whatever, and then how individual can you do the feedback and, yeah.
Yeah, from staff perspective, we can tell you that we noticed they want a bit more information around how we're at least trying to help out students that are in care, children and youth in care. And so we're coming up with some plans, even though we don't have necessarily the names, because once they leave, they can come in and out of the system. We don't always get that information immediately, but the point is we often kind of know which kids we're talking about. So in the next one, we're going to give a bit more information on what are we doing about supporting those kids in the schools. Otherwise, I'm quite confident in our internal process in working with the board in terms of our cycle of data, resource alignment, allocation, and those kinds of things.
They basically said they've got the concept of a 6-year cycle, and they'll get where they want to be by end of the 6th year, and then they'll refine the process further. So we're, I think, going into year 4. So. All right. Number 12, unfinished business, the most exciting part of the agenda tonight. No, not really, but yes. Our strategic planning engagement summary was attached to your agenda package. It also, I believe, was in the binders that has foundational documents for you. Stephen will love that I found one typo when I was looking at it this afternoon, but that's okay.
Just one.
So the plan now is based on some of the ideas that you gave us for importance of reaching out and sending this document will be for us to do our reach out and start to send it far and wide in alignment with the groups we felt we communicated with in the first place, and then the groups that we felt it would be important to have it. So that's where we're at.
And
Any-
a quick-
Yep.
I've been able to find a translator. So in addition to Google Translate, which can be unreliable, I have found an online translator who actually from Ukraine who will vet the translations for German and Russian, and they should be ready before the end of the week.
Thank you.
And we will send those out to, actually, maybe I'll send, but we'll send them internally out to 101 and those communities, but also share them with you to share out that way.
Okay. And we sort of divided up the work a little bit about with sharing. So better that it's a lot of sharing to be done, but we'll get on it and let you know in the end all the places that it's gone to.
Yeah.
Any further thoughts related to our engagement summary?
Well, maybe just to point out, when you see the questions and the answers and, you know, percentage wise, whatever, there's also in the title, in brackets, the little number. So they're not always the same. So sometimes if there's less people that answered that one, so it just kind of does change the. Some are answered by, 450 people and others are by 100, so.
Not everybody answered everything. And the other thing that we wanted to confirm for you is if you're keen and eager and want to see where the summary came from, the entire package of raw data is available to you on the board SharePoint. What's not in here in this engagement summary, but it may be embedded in the raw data that we want to go back and look at as a board, is to see if there's any urban, rural, things like that. This was a general, overall, big, huge summary with high level detail. If you are interested in doing a deeper dive, that data is available for you. I haven't looked. I have no idea how many pages it is. So. Right.
Great.
I don't have any new business. Michelle sends her regrets tonight. And I don't see Jenny in the room, and I
No.
don't see anybody from Deepak. So
No.
Madeline, would you like to take questions from the press and public? Because you're there.
Because I'm here.
One question.
I just had one question. Well, it's a big question, I guess. Stephen, you were talking about the MDI, the EDI, and the data collecting, that all these reports that are across BC are done by all the individual schools. Now, where does all that data go? Like, I mean, there's questions. I was actually going through my daughter's questions that she had in grade 11, which is in 1997. They still had these reports that they were getting children to fill out in school. And they were asking things like, do you have two parents? Do you have one parent? Where does all that data go? And how long is it kept?
I can answer. Yeah, no, it's a fair question. The individual data is only available, it's actually, we just see the trends in our district. So we don't actually get that student level
Okay,
data. That is private. In terms of where the district aggregate information is kept, that's a report that's shared with us.
Okay.
And so we own that information, but it's a great question. Individual student data is not kept.
yeah, it wasn't so much the individual
Okay.
student data, but I mean, they say, okay, this district has 20 students here, they have no parents. This one here has, they might not have who they are, but they have no parents. This one is a one-person family. This is one with a mother. This one is with a father. Do they compile all that in the area and then take all the other areas together to say that, okay, these families that have like orphans aren't doing as well as those that have a two-parent family? Is there anywhere that they do similar things like that and saying, hey, this one really excels in math because he's in a two-family. This one really excels in literature because he loves to read books. I just see a lot of things and a lot of things that are data related. And I'm just wondering, what is happening with all this stuff?
If you
I
go,
mean, you guys do wonderful reports on, like, I really enjoy coming in and seeing the individual schools. But I mean, that's going somewhere else than just our area. At least I am assuming, so that they can say, okay, we need to look at this format over here to help increase literature, this over here, so we need help with math.
I see what you're saying. Helen, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say that if you go to the ministry's student success site,
Yeah.
you get a document that gives you a provincial overview. And when you were specifically asking about single parent families, there's the overview for the entire province, and then each school district, there's a document for. And one of the pieces of information that they report back on is the number of single parent families as a percentage of the student population in the district, and they compare that to the provincial percentage, basically with the idea that there may be a higher level of need if a district has got a higher percentage of single parent families than the provincial average. But it's not broken down into dad with kids, mom with kids, grandparents with kids. It's just broken down as single parent.
And so I think it was on the last board meetings report, there is a link online from the superintendent's report to that site that Helen is referring to. It's called Student Success BC, something like that. But there is the link in my report.
Yeah.
And there's no end to how you could look at data, but for the time being, these reports and the ministry doesn't correlate individual family demographics to specific student results in different subject areas. I understand where you're going with that. Right now, it's more
Trying to
about
help
high
the
level
whole
trends. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. No, good question. Thank you.
Could I please get a motion to suspend the regular meeting and move into in-camera? Moved by David, seconded by Bill. Calling the question, all in favor? In favor here? In favor with Ida? Leah, could you please stop the recording? Could I please have a motion that the 3 in-camera motions be brought forward for implementation? Moved by Bill, seconded by David. Calling the question, all in favor? In favor here? It's carried.
In favor.
Thank you. And now we need a motion to adjourn, please. Nicole, I know Bill too much tonight. Ida,
No more Bill.
all right, all in favor? Carried.
In favor.
In favor, please stop the recording, Leah.